The 7 deadly sins are a Christian categorization of the major sins one can commit. Everything morally wrong that someone can do is said to be able to be traced back to these 7 sins, a group of sinister vices meant to act as a guide to understand the moral do's and don'ts of life itself. And this is a very interesting concept even outside of theology, being used in a vast multitude of stories that explore themes and ideas, not only exploring these sins as concepts and their role in people's lives. Some examples are the Shazam comics, the 7 movie, and my personal favorite, Fullmetal Alchemist manga and anime. The idea behind the sins, however, is that the sins can live on through characters and their vices, not just as myth or villains. Most people like to theorize about characters representing the 7 deadly sins, even in child-centered media, like SpongeBob or Mario, or in this case, Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball characters definitely have their vices, both play for comedy and to enhance drama or character arcs for their overall story and themes. I want to use the 7 deadly sins as a way to analyze some of the most important characters and understand their primary vices. I'll focus on 2 characters for each sin. To start, let's go with the obvious. Pride. Hubris of oneself without shame or humility. Always happy with your own choices. It's Vegeta, the pride of the Saiyans. From the beginning, Vegeta felt immense pride not just being a prince, but a high-class Saiyan warrior. His pride embodies everything about him, his sense of superiority and his refusal to back down. His ultimate form of Ultra Ego is also his own pride in empowering himself, a transformation that allows him to tank damage and charge ahead, prideful in that it doesn't allow Vegeta to accept anything he does as wrong, instead tanking any hits to pridefully continue the fight. His pride is the reason behind all his actions, both good and bad. The reason he wants to be Goku is to validate his own pride that he let become his whole identity. The reason he fell to Babidi is because he wanted to regain the sin of pride after losing it on Earth. Even in the Super manga, where he learns how to redeem himself and the Saiyans in the face of Namekians and other races destroyed by the Saiyans, he never outright apologizes. He does express sympathy and take responsibility for the Saiyans by protecting who the Saiyans hurt, but this too is out of a sense of pride. His new definition of what makes someone good demands he takes responsibility, demands he tackles these issues. Don't get me wrong, this is a huge character development for Vegeta. His pride turning from a sin that caused others death to a real strength and sense of responsibility during the Moro and Granola arcs. Vegeta represents pride, and he shows how even something seen as the worst sin of all can be recontextualized as something positive for oneself and their growth, and even the people around him and the common good. While we're on pride, Vegeta's own wife, and possibly the most important Dragon Ball character, also represents pride, Bulma herself. From the beginning, she saw herself as kind of an ultimate sex symbol, attempting to seduce others for her own gain, without being able to understand that she wasn't as perfect as she thought she was. She is so satisfied and full of herself, her initial ultimate wish is for strawberries. Just strawberries. Even when she ages, she'll never allow an ill word against her, or to be seen as anything less than perfection. She will rationalize any selfish decision she makes, even using valuable wishes just to keep herself as what she sees as perfect and beautiful. The thing is, she's kind of right to be prideful. She is the smartest person on Earth, maybe even the universe. She invents time travel, the Dragon Radar, advanced space flight, and anything else the Dragon Team needs. When she is the main supplier of everything the main characters need for any adventure, like the Dragon Radar or Android Destruction Device, who can blame her for having pride to back that up? Aside from some mean words or a cartoonish slapstick, there doesn't seem to be any real consequences to her pride that hurts others. And it even helps humble Vegeta to the point he's become a better person because of Bulma. So yes, it is a vice for Bulma, but it also allows her to be confident as well as both connect with Vegeta and help him on his inner journey. Another obvious representation of sin in Dragon Ball is the sin of wrath. Wrath is allowing anger to completely overtake you, removing sensibility or morals. Just like how Vegeta is very openly the character most associated with pride, Broly would be the character most associated with wrath. Broly was pushed into extreme anger by Frieza, removing his sense of logic. He wouldn't listen to reason and battled to the point of threatening the planet. Vengeance is a big motivator for wrath, and is a vice to let your anger take over just for revenge. Broly learned to control his wrath after training with Gohan, another character with rage issues. Gohan's wrath isn't as extreme though, since Gohan is an expert at keeping his wrath suppressed. Broly's failure is a bit different though. He didn't know right from wrong or how to control himself, since Paragus had complete control of him. So it's hard to call Broly guilty even if he falls to wrath. Nothing like Z Broly, who is definitely the sin of wrath personified. He chooses to turn wrathful for revenge, not even caring for his father or any of his ideology. It's way worse because this Broly doesn't have the same extreme amount of trauma that Super Broly has, yet he still acts wrathful. Another wrathful character is Beerus. Beerus is a pretty logical character, so it may not be obvious at first, but he is definitely temperamental. It's said he wiped out most of the dinosaurs pretty much on a whim just because they annoyed him. He wanted to destroy Earth just because Boo ate his pudding, and he even has moments where he mouths off to Whis despite his angelic authority. Beerus' wrath is sinful specifically because it's clear he can control it. He doesn't get angry at Zeno and eases up when given good food, even being nice to people like Bulma and Chilai just because he finds them cute. It's that he chooses to at times let his wrath take control that makes him fit the sin. But those two sins, pride and wrath, are the obvious ones for Dragon Ball characters, with characters being referred to with those exact words in the actual story. Although, there's actually another character referred to with one of the 7 deadly sins, the sin of gluttony, and that character is Android 21. So, Vami is a canon character, the wife of Dr. Gero, and mother of the human Android 16 is based on. In the best Dragon Ball game, FighterZ, she is transformed into Android 21 by using Majin Buu's cells. The human and Majin fusion in her created an unstoppable gluttony, needing a ton of energy to keep herself from feeling hunger pains. She was a good person, so she tried to just feed on clones, turned to sweets to get the energy she needed. But the hunger kept growing and growing. After she loses control of her hunger and makes a terrible mistake, she split in two, a good and bad half. The new evil Android 21 is the personification of gluttony, feeding on others just to satisfy herself. It's a bit hard to tell if the good Android 21 is innocent here, since her hunger was a result of her transforming into a bio-android. Maybe with the great power was the cost of hunger, but we don't know that for sure. It's never said whether Android 21 is Vami herself or just a copy like Android 16 was. If she was a completely artificial being, it is a tragic story because she wouldn't be able to control her hunger and it wouldn't be her fault. But that hunger within her originates from Majin Buu's cells, and Buu is undeniably the other incarnation of gluttony in Dragon Ball. He loves eating sweets, but is overindulgent to his own desire. Gluttony is overindulgence of anything, not just food. Buu overindulgence on what he views as fun, playing, fighting, eating. He doesn't know how to stop. Buu is like a child. However, there's more to him than just that. There's an awareness to him that keeps his overindulgence a sin rather than innocence. Think about Buu knowing when he should take threats seriously. He has the wisdom of a Supreme Kai inside him and knows what it means to kill. But he still lets his desire to overindulge overpower that logic in him. That makes Buu more accurate to the sin of gluttony, just like evil Android 21 epitomizes gluttony through her addiction to food. Not every representation of sin is straight up evil though, like Sloth. For Sloth, I'd say the big representation is Son Gohan. Gohan is smart, he's a scholar at the forefront of biological research, yet he claims he doesn't train because he doesn't believe the Earth would be in danger with his father around or at times of peace. Gohan is logical. He knows that the Earth will always be in danger. He knows his dad can fall in battle, as he has before. Gohan just doesn't like fighting. Ever since he was a kid, fighting just gave him pain. Sloth is more than just laziness. It's the avoidance of responsibility. Gohan has a tendency to avoid responsibility, like leaving Piccolo to pick up Pan or letting Goku protect the world when Gohan has the potential to be much stronger than Goku. He just wants to spend his time doing what he enjoys, learning about the world and creatures surrounding him. We've seen everything he's been through, so we sympathize with him, but it's still a sin to ignore his great responsibility when he has such great power. Piccolo seems to have finally gotten through to Gohan, however, forcing him to end his passiveness by showing him what can really be at stake. Another representation of Sloth, I'd say, is actually Goten. Goten actually represents Sloth since he lacks the ambition that Goku or even Gohan had. Those two went out into the world even as just kids just because they felt the responsibility to do good, whereas Goten seems actually satisfied with where he is. He enjoys his life, not seeking to grow in strength or match other fighters, and when he has so much potential, it is kind of Sloth personified that he doesn't even try or seem to want to try becoming stronger to protect others. Just playing superhero with Trunks seems to satisfy him completely, but the absence of ambition, it's still a sin, and that's Sloth. Now, Goten and Gohan are obviously still pretty good guys, despite showcasing Sloth, so for the next sin, let's see some real villains again. Let's go over greed, and how Frieza represents it. Greed is the want to have everything in your control, want to own all that there is to own, and wanting to have everything, it puts you into a sinful level of superiority, which Frieza so clearly has. Because he thinks he's above the universe, he wants to conquer it, and that is simply greed personified. Frieza also wants more power, wanting to be stronger than Goku not out of envy, but for a prideful need to prove his superiority. As Frieza spends more time fighting Goku, he even starts to enjoy training and reaching new heights, which is kind of a positive in Dragon Ball's philosophies. The problem is he doesn't improve himself for positive reasons. It's still his own greed that's pushing him to want to become stronger, and even making him enjoy fighting. He wants to prove himself superior. A lesser evil with great greed is Emperor Pilaf. Pilaf wants to rule the world so all bow to him. He wants to have others work under him, as if owning them. With Pilaf, we see how greed can be empowered by a sense of superiority. Pilaf is so vain, he sees his natural place above all others, just like Frieza. For the next sin, let's get something straight about it. Lust is not inherently sexual. Lust is just a complete falling to one's own desire, putting your own wants above everything else. And yes, the obvious, Roshi represents lust. He wants to relax, watch hot women, and feel satisfied over everything else to the point it hurts the people around him. He is incredibly sinful. But since that lust is sexual, it's pretty obvious with how the word lust is used in modern times. In a deeper way, it's Goku that embodies the sin of lust. Goku loves to fight. He always had ever since Grandpa Gohan taught it to him. The thing is, his own want to chase his desires blind him to others' own desires. Goku's desire to fight Vegeta again, to see Vegeta redeemed, risk the existence of Earth itself and led to the temporary death of many Namekians. His lust for battle blinded him to the fact that his own son hates battle, causing Goku to give Cell a sensu beam just to lead to the planet at risk. Yeah, Goku thought he was helping Gohan since he thought Gohan liked fighting, but ignorance due to one's own lust is still a sin. He couldn't see that Gohan just enjoyed being with Goku, not just enjoying their battles. That's a sin. It's selfishness. In Super, this sin takes control of him. He encourages the Tournament of Power, which ends up putting every universe in danger, just because he had a lust for a strong fight. He encourages Moro to train, when the last thing the galaxy needed was such a villain to grow even stronger. And his lust for battle kept him training, when the planet was in danger by the Red Ribbon Army. This character regression that really grew extreme during Super shows Goku as the embodiment of lust, a lust for battle and for fun. The last sin we have to go over is envy, a jealousy for the life or possessions of others. It shows an unappreciation of your own life, and lack of sympathy to others and their own problems. I have two examples, of course, but the lesser example of this is Trunks. So future Trunks felt envy for a world without Cell, and was willing to risk it all to achieve a world without Cell. He envied a world with a living Goku and Vegeta, but that envy blinded him to that world's realities. He couldn't handle the flaws that came with Vegeta, and it led to Vegeta putting the world at jeopardy without Trunks being able to stop it. His envy for a better world had a positive view His envy for a better world had a positive view to it though, in the form of hope. He decides to stay in his time no matter how dire the situation, his envy turning to hope that he can always make his home timeline better. Ironically, Kid Trunks shows envy too. Kid Trunks wants to be like the heroes he sees, wanting to show off and have cool moves. He is jealous of the attention his future self gets, and he remains jealous of attention from girls he likes even when he's a teenager. He also wants to be like Clean God, constantly envious of cool and strong people, without really reflecting on the kind of person he should be to obtain that. But the ultimate example of envy in Dragon Ball is Piccolo. To some, this may not make sense, but let me explain why he is literally green with envy. When the nameless Namekian split himself into two, Kami and Piccolo, Piccolo felt envious, wishing to conquer the world as revenge. He even is envious of others' youth, wishing for it back on the Dragon Ball. When Piccolo reincarnates is where the big envy comes from. It's envy for a family. His father, his previous incarnation, didn't exist anymore. There were no minions or brothers. Piccolo grew up alone. He witnessed others' families and was envious. He saved a family in danger because he loved the idea of family after growing up alone without his father. He was envious of Goku for his strength and his own family. When Piccolo kidnaps Gohan, this is when his envy really turns to a force for good that was hinted at when he saved that family. He finally gained the family he wanted so much in Gohan, to the point he was willing to sacrifice himself for it. I feel he also had an envy for Namekians that live on planet Namek, since he willingly fused with Nail, like he wanted the culture of Namek and his own origin with him always. Nowadays, Piccolo's envy is pretty much gone. Now Piccolo has his own family and knows how to appreciate them. Even when Goku and Vegeta surpasses him in strength, he doesn't get jealous. Instead, tries to push Gohan to their level instead of himself. Piccolo's envy started as such a sin it caused him to try to take over the world. And now it ends with Piccolo wanting nothing more than for his family to be fulfilled and protected at all times. So it is very interesting overall how Dragon Ball showcases these sins both as evils and ideas that can be turned to forces for good. And I do think there are more examples of characters representing these 7 sins, but I think this really showed off the most important characters and their sins. There's a very interesting way to read these characters and even showcase elements of their characterization and personalities that might not be as focused on. Seeing how many grew from their flaws or redefined these sins are really interesting, showing how great some of these characters' arcs really are. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to see more interesting videos like this. Like the video and comment your thoughts.